All right, picture this. You're working at this tech company. It's pretty cool, lots of innovation happening, and you're on a team that's developing new AI software. This software is designed to help with hiring processes by scanning resumes and picking out the best candidates. Sounds awesome, doesn't it? It's supposed to cut down on human bias, save time, and all that good stuff. So, one day you're looking over the algorithm's results and you notice something weird. The AI is consistently favoring male candidates over female candidates, even when their qualifications are the same. You dig a bit deeper and realize that it's because the data used to train the AI was biased. Most of the top performing employees in the past were men, so the AI learned that male candidates are better, which is obviously not true. Now, here's where the ethical dilemma kicks in. You bring this up to your manager, but they're more focused on the fact that the software is almost ready to launch and the company has invested a ton of money into it. They tell you to keep quiet about it and let the issue slide, promising that they'll fix it later. But you know how these things go. Later often means never. You're now stuck with this heavy decision. Do you follow your manager's orders and let a biased AI be released, potentially affecting thousands of job applicants unfairly? Or do you blow the whistle, risking your job in the project, but standing up for what's right? Let's break this down a bit. On one hand, keeping quiet might seem like the easier option. You get to keep your job, avoid conflict, and maybe, just maybe, they'll actually fix it later. But let's be real. What's the likelihood of that happening? By not saying anything, you're complicit in perpetuating gender bias, and that's a huge ethical issue. It's not just about the software, it's about the lives and careers of real people. On the other hand, speaking up could lead to a whole lot of trouble. You could lose your job, the company might face backlash, and you'll probably be in a very uncomfortable position for a while. But at the same time, you'll be doing the right thing, ensuring that the AI is fair and just, and potentially sparking a necessary conversation about bias in technology. So, what would you do? It's a tough call. There's no easy answer. But here's what I think. We've got a responsibility to stand up against things that are wrong, even when it's tough. Especially when it's tough. Technology should help us move forward, not reinforce outdated biases. By speaking up, you might face immediate consequences, but you're also paving the way for a more equitable future. And think about the bigger picture. If no one speaks up, these issues just keep getting buried. We need more people to call out these problems so that companies are held accountable. It's about creating a culture where ethical practices are prioritized over quick profits. Now, I know this might seem like a no-brainer to some of you, but the reality is, when you're in that situation, it's incredibly hard. The pressure to conform, to not rock the boat, is real. But remember, every time we choose to stay silent in the face of injustice, we're letting the wrongs continue. But let's dig even deeper into this scenario because it's layered with complexity. When you first start to notice the bias in the AI, your initial reaction might be disbelief. You might second guess yourself thinking, is this really happening? This is a common reaction, and it's important to trust your instincts when something feels off. Document your findings meticulously. This way, you have concrete evidence when you present your concerns. It's not just about pointing out a flaw. It's about showing that there's a systemic issue that needs addressing. Talking to your manager, you might experience a range of emotions: frustration, fear, determination. When they brush off your concerns, it feels like a punch to the gut. You're passionate about creating something good and fair, and here's someone essentially telling you that your ethical concerns are less important than the project's deadline. This can be incredibly demotivating, but it's crucial to remember that ethical integrity isn't just about doing what's right when it's easy. It's about doing what's right. Let's explore some possible steps you could take. If speaking directly to your manager doesn't work, you might consider going higher up the chain of command. This can be intimidating, especially in a corporate environment where hierarchy is deeply ingrained. However, many companies have an ethics hotline or a compliance department specifically for these types of issues. Utilizing these resources can sometimes provide a more anonymous and less confrontational way to raise your concerns. Now, let's say you've exhausted internal channels and nothing has changed. This is where it gets really tough. Going public with your findings or whistleblowing is a last resort but sometimes necessary. It's not a decision to be taken lightly. Whistleblowing can have severe personal and professional consequences, but it can also lead to significant positive change. It's worth researching whistleblower protection laws in your country, as these can offer some degree of safety. There's also the personal side to consider. How will this decision affect your relationships at work? Your job is not just a paycheck. It's a significant part of your life. You have colleagues, maybe even friends there. Taking a stand can create rifts. You might be labeled a troublemaker or find yourself isolated. It's important to have a support system outside of work, friends, family, or even a mentor who can provide guidance and encouragement. Beyond the immediate situation, think about the long-term implications. What kind of professional do you want to be? Do you want to be known as someone who stood by their principles, or someone who turned a blind eye? Your reputation in your industry is built on the actions you take. Standing up for what's right might be difficult now, but it can lead to greater respect and trust from your peers in the future. And let's not forget the impact on the job market. If this biased AI goes to market and influences hiring processes across various companies, it could potentially reinforce gender disparities for years to come. By taking a stand, you're not just protecting current job applicants, you're helping to shape a fairer job market for the future. It's a big responsibility, but also a powerful opportunity to make a real difference. Now, I know this might seem like a no-brainer to some of you, but the reality is, when you're in that situation, it's incredibly hard. The pressure to conform, to not rock the boat, is real. But remember, every time we choose to stay silent in the face of injustice, we're letting the wrongs continue. And think about the bigger picture. If no one speaks up, these issues just keep getting buried. We need more people to call out these problems so that companies are held accountable. It's about creating a culture where ethical practices are prioritized over quick profits. I want to bring up another aspect of this ethical dilemma: the impact on diversity and inclusion initiatives. Many companies today are investing heavily in creating diverse and inclusive workplaces. If biased AI tools become the norm, these efforts could be severely undermined. Diversity in the workplace isn't just a box to check. It brings a range of perspectives and ideas that drive innovation and success. By allowing a biased tool to influence hiring, you're potentially robbing companies of the benefits that come from a diverse workforce. And what about the candidates themselves? Imagine being a qualified female candidate who gets rejected not because of her skills or experience, but because of an AI's biased decision. It's demoralizing and unfair. These candidates might lose out on opportunities that could have been life-changing. By standing up against the biased AI, you're standing up for every qualified candidate who deserves a fair chance. So, what can we do to prevent these ethical dilemmas from arising in the first place? It starts with the data. Companies need to be extremely vigilant about the data they use to train their AI. This means ensuring that the data is diverse and representative. It also means continuously monitoring and auditing the AI's decisions to catch any biases early on. Education is key as well. Everyone involved in the development of AI, from programmers to project managers, should be trained in ethical practices. They need to understand the potential consequences of their work and how to mitigate them. Creating an open and transparent work environment where ethical concerns can be freely discussed without fear of retaliation is also crucial. Finally, there's the role of regulation. Governments and industry bodies need to step up and create guidelines and standards for the ethical development and use of AI. This can help ensure that companies adhere to best practices and are held accountable when they don't. So, my challenge to you is this. Next time you're faced with an ethical dilemma, think about the long-term impact of your decision. It's not just about you. It's about the kind of world you want to live in and the kind of legacy you want to leave behind.